the Threader Beast. The Threader Beast, the second creature that we encountered out in the sands on our way to rendezvous with the Platmando cultists. We encountered a creature that I want to be terrifying. I want it to be something that is seen as a part of the environment, that you just have to live with, at least for now. This Threader Beast. I rolled that it's ugly, it smells, it's small, it's hooved, it burrows, and that its potency was more, meaning above the baseline average. So this is something that could have an impact, it's capable of harming, especially because of what we ended up rolling for it. It has a piercing warlike horn, and it can burrow inside you. And I forgot, I don't recall who it was that specifically threw that question on the table, but thanks to them, I believe it was Varium Gray. Thanks to Varium Gray, this thing can burrow inside of you if it wanted to. And I think that's why I started nicknaming it Threader Beast, because this is something that is very fast, it seems, when it burrows under the sands, and it can go right through you easily, like a needle and thread. And we watched it go through two people, or those that were there. We watched it go through two people at once, and they were fully armored. But that's a great nickname. I would like to come up with or confirm what the name is going to be. I like Threader Beast. I'm okay with going as going with nickname names. It always starts there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expound on each thing that I rolled, and then I'm even going to ask the Meta Black, for any additional details that we need to know about this creature. It's ugly. I said that its long muscular body with 6 powerful hooved appendages used for its unparalleled acceleration in and upon sand makes it an unsightly animal to behold, especially when it's in full stride. Its muscles writhing under its moldy pelt. Its face appears mutilated by its own war horn, erected from its nose, protruding out of its head, leaving its oddly humanoid face stretched along the baseline of its horn. It's ugly, and I wanted it to look grotesque. The spike that's coming out of its, think of a swordfish, how a spike, but this is like a warlike horn is what we rolled. So I imagine that to be very grotesque. Very grotesque. It smells. It has an odor, and if I recall, we rolled what that was. It was a smell. It smelled good. It was like a sweet smell, a sweet scent, and I want to expound on that sweet scent, because this is what you smell when you know one is nearby. How would you describe this sweet scent? Curiously / cold. Minty. It has when you inhale, it doesn't seem like any other than its smell, its sweet smell. Nothing seems to happen until the more you smell it, out of curiosity. This is a weird smell. I want to smell more because I'm curious as to what That's when you really start to get that minty, that cold, minty sensation in your nose, and that's because of the sweetness, its scents. The odor is so incredibly potent that it is capable of being inhaled and coating the interior of your nostrils, and it doesn't hurt, or it can't, hopefully you're not allergic to these things, but Think of it as like these things generate some sort of pollen, you know? Other than this strange, odd, long millipede horse body that I envision, is there anything else ugly about the Threader Beast? I'm going to say very likely that there is something else pretty ugly about this beast that I'm forgetting about. Yeah. And what exactly is so ugly about this thing that I'm forgetting about? Fight/new ideas. Okay, so the Meta Black is saying that horn is not the only way that it can fight. It's smarter than that. It's smarter than that. It has some other things that it can do. It's known for its horn, but there's some other things that maybe not all of them can do, but some of them can do it, and it's tied to them in their ugliness. Maybe that there are ones out there that are maybe not as ugly, that have evolved differently and perfectly, and because of that they are capable of doing some other things. Is that what's going on here? I'm going to say unlikely. No, but event assist/pain. Well, we're not in the narrative at the moment, so I'm going to interpret this as something else. They're saying no, but there's something else that they do that contributes to the pain that they inflict. They're not toxic, are they? Are they toxic? I'm gonna say 50-50. Yes, but it can only be inflicted. Can it be? Yes, but it's not them that's toxic. It's the odor. Is the odor toxic? I'm gonna say likely. No, but too much of the odor is toxic. Too much of it. Like, you don't want to be inhaling it for too long, this odor. A little bit is fine. You don't want to be stranded out. Like, if you're stranded out in a desert and you're on some sort of structure that they cannot reach you on, but they're circling you and that's all you're smelling, you're as good as dead. You would die before you starved. I like that. They give off a distinguishably sweet and pleasant body odor. If inhaled with fervor, a cold sensation can build up to one's discomfort. That goes with its ugliness. Know what? No, I forgot. This is tied to its ugliness. This is also why it's ugly. I'm going to say that if you inhale too much of this, you don't die of poisoning. You die, your face starts to turn ugly. And by ugly, I mean it starts to change in ways people would perceive it as ugly, however you would imagine that. Repulsive, repugnant. It's a disease, repugnance poisoning, that you get from breathing in too much. You know, usually people that you see survive these creatures, the wrath of these creatures, is because they were able to find somewhere to sit and be safe. But they smelled it, and they got repugnancy poison. And all it does is when you inhale it, it just makes you, it morphs your face. It does things to your face. This makes it disproportioned, and it can really change what you look like. And you take on this repugnance about yourself. I want the poison to be named after what the creature is called. I want to figure out first what the name of the creature is, this animal. And because I picture these many horse features on the lower torso, I definitely, this is something that gallops under the sand and on the sand. But I definitely got to mention that war horn and its ugliness. Its ugliness is probably its most prominent feature. Those are some heavy consequences. I would never want to be poisoned by this thing. I would never want to be killed by it. They just seem like they're just bad news. Ooh, sand uglies. No, not just sand uglies. Mephrafferul uglies. Ferul uglies. Ferul uglies. Ferulian uglies. Ferulian uglies. Sure, people call them desert uglies, but there's probably other deserts in this world that don't have the Ferulian uglies in it. So that's why I kind of wanted to, I want Mephrafferul Desert as we build out Mephrafferul, this region. I want to be able to give each area that we are in some character and really start to flesh it out. So we can do that by making these creatures exclusive to this particular desert. Is that the case? Probably not. I could ask right now, but I don't want to know that. What I want to know is what these things are called, and I think I like Ferulian uglies. Ferulian uglies. Like Sand City, Harbor, South Harbor, Mephrafferul. These are Ferulian uglies. Fugly poison. Frugly poison. That person got the fruglies. They got the fruglies. And it's looked at as kind of like a joke. Like, it's like, oh, that's unfortunate. And there's always somebody thinking that they've figured a way to cure the fruglies. Like, that's like an ongoing, you know what I mean? That's like it's a problem. It's like getting sprayed by a skunk. But it lasts a lot longer. Like your life. You're just forever, you're forever deformed unless somebody can fix you. But until then, you got frugly poison. Ferulian ugly poison. The fruglies. Poison with the fruglies. Known as the fruglies, this poison attacks the blood when inhaling too much of the sweet and cold scent of a Ferulian ugly. Too much of the scent will turn your blood cold and morph and melt your face. Frugly poison. So that's an extension of ugliness on that. All right, so back to smell. It gives off, and that ties into smell as well. So we're going to put a cap on smell, and we'll ask if there's anything else I need to add. It gives off a distinguishably sweet and pleasant body odor. If inhaled with fervor, a cold sensation can build up to one's discomfort. If inhaled for too long, one will become poisoned with the frugly poison. This is just base knowledge, This is meta knowledge. This is just common knowledge, for the sake of the game, As far as weaknesses and stuff like that, that's going to be reserved for, needing to learn and capture and learn about these creatures, about them from other people or through experience. But, this foundation this is just building a foundation for the creature. that we're rolling here. The other thing that we rolled was small. Small. You know, I pictured this creature to be, you know, the size of a little dog. Is there anything else about this creature's size that I need to be, that we should know about? I'm gonna say likely. Yes. And what is that about? What is that in regards to its size do we need to know about? Roughly / historical. They've always been this size. Since the beginning of time. It is notoriously small, and luckily for us, not an inch larger. We're going to change that. It is notoriously a small creature. If any larger, could be a threat to nearby settlements and civilization. Just imagine something like that, but way larger, and the odor that it gives off is just poisoning entire civilizations because it just lives nearby. That could be crazy, but luckily we just rolled that this thing has always been this one particular size. It is notoriously a small creature. Hooved. I'll say it again. Unparalleled acceleration. Unparalleled acceleration. When anything is ever referred to speed on the sand in Mfrafferal, it's named after whatever this thing's hooves are called. Maybe Ferulian Uggs. Remember, they're called Ferulian Uglies? Fugs. Yo, 10 fug power. The speed of 10 fugs. Ferulian Uglies. Yo, this thing goes, this sandboat travels at 30 Mach fugs. Ferulian Uggs? Ferulian Uggs. Uggs. $55 Uggs. Ugg speeds. Ugg hooves. Ferulian Uglies. This thing travels at 55 Ferulian Uglies. 55 for feral Uggs. For 55 fugs. 55 fugs? 55 fugs. 55 fugs. 55 fugs? 55 fugs. Okay. Yeah. Unparalleled acceleration under and upon the sand. The Ferulian Uglies hooves contribute to its speed and maneuverability. I tell you, it has unparalleled acceleration under and upon the sand. The Ferulian Uglies' hooves contribute to its speed and maneuverability. I'll say it again. Unparalleled acceleration under and upon the sand. The Ferulian Uglies' hooves contribute to its speed. Say it with me. And maneuverability. This creature is shaping up to be the fastest creature in Mythic region. Okay? The Ferulian Ugly. I say. Do I gotta read it again? Unparalleled acceleration. You wish you had the hooves of a Ferulian Ugly. What are Ferulian Uglies? Have you ever been to Mythic region? I'm just gonna say this: if you ever go to Mythic, if you smell a sweet scent, don't smell it for long. Just keep it moving. Why? Because it gives off a distinguishably sweet scent and a pleasant body odor. If inhaled with fervor, a cold sensation can build up to one's discomfort. If inhaled for too long, one will become poisoned with the Uglies. The Uglies. The Uglies. You don't want to know what the Uglies are. Just don't smell it for too long is what I'm saying. All right, moving on. It burrows. It travels underground. Nothing else to say there. Is there anything else I need to add? It burrows. You know, I would like to say I'm not gonna add anything. I think this thing is already deadly enough. But if the Meta Black wants to add something, all right, let's see. Other than its burrowing ability, its ability to go underground and come up and attack us. Other than that, is there anything else that we should know about its burrowing? I'm gonna say somewhat likely. Yes. And what is that exactly? Stop/business. Remember, I said I wanted this to be something. I wanted this creature to be I wanted its presence to be felt in these lands. And I just got what I wished for, because it burrows underground, and depending on where they are, depending on where they're burrowing at that moment in time, people cannot conduct their business. Routes cannot be ran because, one, they could be killed by these things, and two, it might be so many burrowed under there that the entire place just smells so good. And so this has slowed and stopped the businesses from occurring. But, you know, Mythic seems to be a prospering city, so it hasn't been too much of a thing. And that could be, maybe that could be alluding to maybe there's an occupation of people out there who hunt these things or something. You never know. They seem like they're kind of like pests, in a sense. Their burrows become obstacles for traveling merchants. The populace attempts to avoid this creature's path entirely. Finding traces of burrows is a warning to change paths. Finding traces of burrowing is a warning to change paths. You hear that? Keep an eye out for those. Keep an eye out for those damn burrows. Next, I want to elaborate more on its warlike horn. It is a dangerous horn used for piercing. It's mangled, it's bloody, it's tarnished, but it's still sharp enough to pierce through things. Many things. Its piercing is renowned, and is why this creature is very, very lethal. The reason we were calling it Threader Beast is because it could go through you like a threading needle. Its warlike horn. Is there anything else I need to know about its warlike horn? I'm going to ask the Meta Black. Other than it being very dangerous, is there anything else that I need to know? Somewhat unlikely. Yes. And what is that? Intolerance / stalemate. Nothing can tolerate its horn. It has an intolerance for stalemates. It can never be matched. And that's why I'm thinking that there's something about that book that that is incredible, that I think it should be another plot. It should be another plot. Another plot point. But I'm interpreting this intolerance of stalemates as this creature has an intolerance of being matched. It is like a duel. When it's going out for that horn, it's going out for blood to kill. And they're a very competitive, combative creature. They have a bit of combat intelligence with their horn. Warhorn. Its horn is unbreakable and capable of piercing armor. This creature is combative and never settles for anything less than a kill. Very hostile it seems. I'm going to circle back to burrows because I forgot that it can burrow inside of you as well. So I'm going to add that. Yeah, if it can go through armor, it can definitely go through its target. All right. That's the Ferulian Ugly. The Ferulian Ugly. I was talking to Ace the DM, aka Tarnish. He was asking me if I was capable of making some kind of armor that could protect against these creatures, and I told him not with what we have. We don't have anything out of the ordinary other than the default material I'm saying we're going with, which is sandite, hardened rock sand, hardened rock or sand, impacted sand that can be made to forge weapons with. If we're making anything, it's using that. Just because we haven't, we don't have any other resources, and it's the best version of sandite, I would say. But nothing to protect ourselves against that. So I had said, we should just, until we find something like that. And I asked him to keep an eye out next time we're out for anything like that and bring it to me. I'll make him something. But We just have to stay clear of the Ferulian Uglies. We can't. I know HDDM is also capable. He has some first aid abilities, some natural healing abilities using nature. But other than that, I don't know if we have anyone else that can assist with that. But that sounds like one of those things going through you. Sounds like a very brutal wound, and something that I don't know if we are we are able to deal with at the moment. We only have us so far, and there's none of us are actually soldiers. So until we can actually get a team of soldiers, we're all going out on these expeditions together just because it increases our chances. But Ferulian Uglies, luckily we can smell them first, but we don't want to smell them for too long, which is what we learned today. Frugly poison.